a short introduction so people know.
Okay.
What's your first name?
Gene.
Okay.
Mhm.
My name is Deanda Johnson. I'm interviewing Mr. Pastor Gene Armstrong of Mount Carmel Baptist Church on July 29th here at his church, Mount Carmel, for the African American Presence in the Ohio River Valley project. Thank you for agreeing to let us interview you.
Well, thank you.
If when I ask you a question, if you can just answer in a complete sentence. So if I say, "What is your name?" My name is.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing.
All right.
Because my voice is going to be cut out.
Okay, all right.
What is your full name, and please spell it for me?
My full name is Gene Arthur Armstrong, Gene Arthur Armstrong.
What is your date and place of birth?
I was born February the 5th, 1945 in Gallipolis, Ohio.
And were you born at home or in a hospital?
I was born at home, the front room of the home that we lived in for almost 40 years, I think. Mm-hmm.
Now, were you delivered by a doctor or a midwife? Do you know?
Yes. It began with some friends. And by the time that the doctor got there, I was just about in the world. But he finished it off.
What do you consider your family ethnic or racial background to be?
Afro-American. Oh, I didn't get it right, did I?
You can say African American.
Okay.
Can you please give me the name of your parents?
My father's name was Earl William Sr. Armstrong. My mother's name is Margaret Ellen Armstrong.
What's her maiden name?
Hardgrove. My mother's maiden name was Margaret Ellen Hardgrove.
Can you spell that for me?
The full name?
Just her last name.
You spell my mother's maiden last name, Hardgrow.
Do you know when they were born and where they were born?
My mother was born in 1918 in Gallipolis, Gallia County, and my father was born in 1901 in Gallipolis, Ohio.
How about your grandparents on your father's side?
I don't know too much about my grandparents on my father's side. I do know that he was one of the first ones who settled the area that we call Buck Ridge, Ohio. He and I think there was something like 13 or 14 others who started that settlement.
And how about your mother's parents?
On my mother's side of the family, my grandfather was a Methodist preacher. At that time, I guess he would be classified as holiness. Got into a lot of trouble for preaching what he preached. And I don't know too much about my grandmother on my mother's side.
Can I pause for 2 seconds? Actually,
Okay. Can you please tell me, I just asked you your grandparents, we finished that, right?
Yes.
Okay. What is your spouse's name?
My wife's name is Elaine Sharon Armstrong Pleasant, or Pleasant Armstrong.
Where was she born?
She was born in New London, Connecticut.
And what is her date of birth, if she doesn't mind?
No. My wife was born October 19th, 1946.
And how did you meet?
I met my wife at a friend's party.
We're at here?
Here in Gallipolis, yes.
And where did you get married? When and where did you get married?
We got married December the 31st, 1966, right here at Mount Carmel Baptist Church, at the old church down at the bottom of the hill.
And can you please give me the names of your children?
I have a daughter, Erica Ann Armstrong, and I have a son, Philip Keith Armstrong.
And when were they born?
Erica was born August the 23rd, 1967, and Philip was born April the 23rd, 1962.
And can you talk a little bit about where you went to school?
Yes, I went to school at Gallia Academy High School, which is in Gallipolis, Ohio. I was among the first class to attend the all-white school for grade school. Our high school had already been integrated several years before, but the grade school hadn't. So that year, in 1952, the colored school, which was Lincoln School, was closed, and everyone went down to the Washington School. And as I say, that was the first year that blacks went to the grade school in Gallipolis.
And can you tell us a little bit about your experience in an integrated elementary school?
Yes, the lot of us, there must have been about, I don't know, maybe 10 of us who started in that first grade. And all during the summer, we knew we were going there. So we had a lot of apprehension about what we were going to be faced with. See, we didn't play that much with the white community because all of us were all together in one community, black community. So we had a lot of apprehension as we started the school. Got in school and we found out that they were more afraid of us than we were of them. And so that gave us a little bit of courage. And after a few months, we developed friendships. And actually, my grade school experience was very good.
How about your middle school and high school experience?
It continued because as we went from grade school to middle school, same people that we started in first grade with, also through high school. And then at that time it was expected of the black students to be good athletes, and most of us were. And because we were, I think that helped us as far as being, if you will, accepted or on the same par as everyone else. So all through from first grade through graduating out of the 12th grade, our experience was pretty good.
Now, what sports did you play?
I played football, basketball, track, and a little bit of baseball.
Can you talk a little bit about your occupation? What did you do after graduating from high school?
After I graduated from high school, I went to college at Central State University now, and then went into the Army, spent 3 years in the Army and 1 year in Vietnam. When I came back from there, I was discharged from the Army in 1967, came home, immediately started working at Ohio Valley Electric Corporation, which is a Cougar Creek station in Chesterhill, Ohio. And I worked there for 37.5 years. I retired, and now I'm pastoring full-time.
Now, can you talk a little bit about your pastor experience? When did you get the call from the Lord, I guess?
I actually received my call, it's easier to say when I answered the call. And I answered the call in 1989 and made it known to the church. And we went through the ordination process. And I was ordained after 2 years of being a licentiate. And after being ordained, the church here called me 2 years later to pastor them, and I've been here ever since.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Mount Carmel Church, what you know of it?
Okay. Mount Carmel was established in 1903. It first started as a Sunday school, and as the number in the Sunday school grew, those who founded it saw the need for a church. And so in 1903, a church was named Mount Carmel Baptist Church, and it was in this present location here at the bottom of the hill until 2003. And at 2003, we began building this building and moved it into it in November of 2003.
And do you know who the founders of this church were?
There's a pretty long list of pastors and ministers, but the one that stands out mostly is Reverend Bryant, I think.
And what role, you mentioned this is your home church that you attended growing up?
No.
Oh, okay. What church did you attend when you were growing up?
As I was growing up in Gallipolis, I attended Paint Creek Baptist Church in Gallipolis, there on 3rd Avenue.
And how did religion influence behavior when you were growing up?
It played a big part in all of our lives, simply because when I was coming up, because we didn't have transportation and stuff that teenagers do now, our main gathering point was the church. For instance, each year we'd have the area school of religion where all the churches in our association, Providence Missionary Baptist Association, would come together for it began 2 weeks to study. We had classes, musical classes, religious classes, and therefore we look forward to that every year because that was the only way we got to meet different people, especially the girls for the guys. But everything pretty well centered around the church. Then also, it was a different type of culture, I believe, simply because everybody raised you. I lived on 4th Avenue, and if I would go over on 3rd Avenue and get in trouble, whatever parent pulled me in from there might give me a couple of licks. And then when I got home, before I got home, the news got home, and I'd be disciplined again. So, and everybody knew everybody because we were all there was just that one black church in Gallipolis at that time, Paint Creek Baptist Church. And so therefore, everybody raised you in the church.
What do you think historically the role of the church has been in these communities around here that are associated with Providence Missionary Baptist Association? What is the role of the church?
Now the role of the church is mainly instruction, fellowship. As I said, it's changed because the people have changed. Whereas, like I say, now they get their entertainment, they can go anywhere they want to. They have the vehicles to do it and the time and the money. And it's changed. So now, mainly, I think that even our association and its place and its role in our lives has changed to mainly now a fellowship.
What do you think it was before?
Before it was, I think, more had to do with our lives and governing our lives. For instance, when someone would get in trouble, everybody in the neighborhood knew it. So you go to church, it wasn't a matter of, did anybody know I got in trouble last night? Everybody knew it. So it was a matter of you having to get up, apologize, and the fear of having to go before the church to apologize for something that you had done was kind of like a deterrent to doing some things that we didn't think we could get away with.
How are the churches in this area connected?
Okay. Our association is divided up into 4 different sub-districts. This district here is called the Gaia Sub-District. The one to the north of us is called the Hawking District. Then we have the Arlington Sub-District in the south, and off to the southeast would be the Piketon District. And all these churches belong to the Providence Regular Missionary Baptist Association, which now I think we have about 16 churches. 14 of them, I believe, 13 or 14 of them are really active. The other 2 aren't, but is our hope that they will get active. We've shrunk. At one time, I think there was something like 30 or 40 churches that were members of Providence.
What happened to the churches?
As people grew up and left, there was no employment there, and churches just had to shut their doors.
Can you talk a little bit about the history of the Providence Missionary Baptist Association? Do you know that history?
Just a little bit. Providence Regular Missionary Baptist Association was formed in 1834. We are the oldest religious organization in the United States. And it was first named, I think, the Anti-Slavery Baptist Union, something like that. And then later changed, after the end of slavery, was later changed to the Providence Regular Missionary Baptist Association. We belong to the Ohio Baptist General Convention, which is one of, I believe, 3 different Baptist conventions in the state of Ohio.
And you mentioned anti-slavery used to be in the name. Do you know the role that these churches played in the anti-slavery movement?
Mainly to try to bring about the end of slavery through laws, trying to get it into pass. But keep in mind that because of the hard to vote and to run for any kind of election or anything like that, our help came from the white community.
Going back to a little bit about your family history, do you know how your family got to Ohio?
On my father's side, I do. They were slaves in Virginia, and when the master gave them freedom, they're called the 100. They got on a raft and came to the Gallipolis area. And from there, they settled, the biggest part of them settled in the Buck Ridge area.
Do you know what part of Virginia that they came from?
No, not really. I've been told and by different people, different places in Virginia. So to be safe, I just say Virginia.
Do you know approximately what year?
No, I don't.
But it was before the Civil War.
Yes, yes.
So can you talk a little bit about the Buck Ridge community? Where is it located and how is it connected to African American history?
Okay. The Buck Ridge community used to be a real thriving community. Several homes and people live there. It has shrunk simply because of jobs and whatever. And that used to be, I guess, one of the major areas for the black community was in Buck Ridge. Now there's just a few families left up there. There is still an open church, a thriving church called Providence Missionary Baptist Church. It's pastored now by Reverend Eddie Buffington, who lives in Gallipolis.
What kind of industry or what was the occupation of your father growing up? How did he earn, people in the African American community in Gallipolis earn their living?
Then it was mainly farming. Now my dad wasn't a farmer, he was an interior decorator, and he worked for what is now called Gallipolis Development Center. At that time it was Ohio School for Epileptics. And because he had such a large family, he had to go to Columbus to find work so that he could support the family. He just very hard to do with what he was getting paid at that time at GDC. So he moved to Columbus and found work up there. We didn't go because he said it was a bad place to live. So we stayed here, and Dad at that time, every 2 weeks, would come home on the Greyhound bus until 1954. And in 1954, he had accumulated enough money and got enough raises that he was able to buy him a 1954 Ford. And so then he was coming home every week.
So what did you said he was an interior decorator. What kind of things did he do as an interior decorator?
Dad, his main thing was painting, but he was a very good carpenter. But he would do painting, wallpapering, construction, small construction jobs.
Now what was it like having a father who had to commute? What role did he still play in the family if he was gone?
Dad wasn't saved until late in his years, but he was a very moral man. And he would leave instructions with Mom and with his sons. I come from a family with 12, and there were 7 boys. So he made it plain that Mom was in charge and that whatever she said was him saying it. And if we didn't act right, he would discipline us when he got home. Well, sometimes Mom wouldn't wait for him to get home, and she would do the disciplining, and as always with switches. Dad used, he always used a straight razor to shave with, and he had a razor strap that he would sharpen his razor with, and that was his tool of discipline. So we would much rather Mom to discipline us than Dad. But I can only remember Dad only whipping one of us one time, and that was my oldest brother. And none of the rest of us wanted to be whipped by him. So we pretty much stayed in line. Enough that Mom, the discipline that she did was enough. Yeah.
Do you remember why your oldest brother got in trouble by any chance?
Yeah, he backtalked Mom, and when Dad came home and she reported, he wouldn't stand for that. So immediately he took the razor strap off the bathroom hook and disciplined his oldest son. And like I say, Mom didn't have no trouble with backtalk after that.
How old was your brother?
I believe my oldest brother, Earl Jr., he must have been probably around about 14, 15 at the time.
Can you talk a little bit about race relations in Gallipolis? Did you ever experience discrimination, or were there racial incidents in Gallipolis as you were growing up?
Yes, in Gallipolis, remember that it was a very close community, and there was, the things like there's movies that where they showed the movies. We couldn't go to them. The swimming pool was only allowed, we were only allowed to swim it on Thursday afternoon because Thursday afternoon was the time they always changed the water, so we got to swim before they changed the water. You couldn't live anywhere you wanted to live. One reason is because you couldn't afford it, really. And the other is that, well, I'll put it this way. When I came back from the Army, and that was in 1967, and I started to work at Tiger Creek plant, I went to one of the realtors to buy a home. And his words were to me at that time, he says, you know, I supported you all through high school, and you're playing football and your basketball and all that. I supported you then. And he says, now you want to buy a home, and you'll go and see my sign in front of a home, but that doesn't mean I can sell it to you, because let's face it, Gene, there's people who just don't want blacks living next to them. And if they don't want you living next to them and I sell to it, it hurts my business. If it hurts my business, it hurts my pocketbook, and therefore I can't help you.
So where did you end up finding a place to live?
Bidwell. I came to Bidwell, and we bought a plot of land just on the outside of Bidwell, over on Woods Mill Road, and we've lived there ever since.
Growing up, was most of the food that you guys ate purchased or grown?
Growing up, most of it was grown. And grown, what I mean is our gardens. Mom would, huge garden, Mom would can tomatoes and green beans and cabbage, and we'd put the potatoes in the ground and cover them up. Fruit, we would raid the apple trees in the neighborhood, and she would can apples. And when berry picking time came, we picked berries from the time they came on until there was no more. But the biggest part of our food came from what we purchased. We had a chicken coop that we kept chickens in, and every Saturday night we would kill our chickens and dress them, and that would be our Sunday afternoon dinner, fried chicken.
And this was allowed in the city of Gallipolis?
Oh, yes. Yes, remember now, Gallipolis was mainly a farming community. And just about all the black families had chickens. Some had other animals, but mainly it was chickens that we kept in the city.
Growing up, was it outdoor, indoor plumbing?
Well, we were some of the fortunate ones where the bathroom was hooked onto the house, but it was actually outside, plumbing. And because of my dad, because of his work, and because he was a carpenter, he finally enclosed it all, finally got a bathtub put in, and got it heated to where finally it was pretty good.
Growing up, did your family make or purchase most of the clothing that was worn?
Most of our clothing was given to us. And now, whenever any of the boys and the girls got old enough to work, we all had jobs. Not only jobs at home, but jobs outside the house. I remember when I first started was with a paper route. And I had a morning paper route and I had an evening paper route. And from that, I would help with the family and then buy some of my own clothes. But before then, most of the clothes, especially with the younger, were just hand-me-downs, or someone would call my mother and say, Margaret, I've got some clothes over here, or some of the white community. I've got some clothes over here, and maybe your sons or your daughters can wear them. Because all of our sisters and my mother did work in homes, in white homes, cleaning them and doing laundry and stuff like that.
Where, when you purchased clothing, what stores would you purchase clothing at in Gallipolis?
I think for the biggest part was probably G.C. Murphy's, the 5 and dime store, we would call it, but probably there.
And how old were you when you started your paper route?
I was 11 years old when I first started my paper route, and I passed papers all the way through high school. And then in my senior year, I took on a couple of janitorial jobs, and they helped, supplement the family plus whatever I wanted. And then I started buying all my clothes myself. My mother didn't have to buy anything. My dad died in my senior year in high school, and my next oldest brother, Bob, he had just graduated the year before, and he became, if you will, the breadwinner of the family. My other brothers and sisters, the oldest ones, had already graduated and moved on. Some had started families, and they also would help send money back, but we made it.
Now, if you don't mind talking about how did your father pass away?
Dad had a stomach problem, and it was diagnosed as ulcers, but it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And finally, it got to the place where he couldn't work. He didn't retire, but he just couldn't work. And then doctoring, they told him finally that we're going to have to go in and see what we could do. Well, once they opened him up, they found it was advanced cancer. And that was on like a Thursday evening, and then early Friday morning he died.
How common was it for people to seek medical attention from a doctor when you were growing up?
You only went to the doctor when I was growing up when everything else failed. And usually when everything else failed, a lot of times it was too late for the doctor to do anything. But I remember I had real bad stomach ache. And I think I was 11 years old, going on my 12th year, 12 years. And I laid in bed for almost a week and couldn't get my breath, and the pain was so bad. So it was a Sunday morning, and finally Mom said, "I don't think he's getting any better, Earl. We better take him to the hospital." Well, when they got me to the hospital, my appendix had already burst. And they did surgery right then and there. And 14 days later, I got out of the hospital from appendicitis.
And you mentioned when everything else failed. What was everything else? Were there home remedies, or what was done when people were sick or ailing?
Yes, home remedies and prayer. My mom was a believer in prayer, and she put her hands on wherever you hurt at and say a prayer, or like I say, home remedies. The biggest thing that we used was castor oil. It was good for everything. Now, nobody wanted castor oil, but it was good for everything. For a bad cold, for congestion, she would take kerosene, put a little sugar, take a teaspoon of sugar and drop some kerosene in it, and you'd eat that, and sure enough, you'd clear up. But mainly home remedies.
Do you remember any of the other home remedies that were used?
For a cut, one time it was me and my brother, we was running playing, and both of us stepped on nails, boards in the yard and nails. And what she would do would get some spider webs now and a little bit of oil and put that over where the puncture place was and wrap it up. And it did the job. We're still here. Or if something got infected, a cut got infected, she would take some bacon rinds or the fat off of bacon and put over and wrap it up, and that'd draw the poison out. And like I say, we're still here.
How common is diabetes in your family?
Diabetes, as far as I know now, we've only had one sister, my oldest sister. She died about 12 years ago, and she died from sugar diabetes. But that is the only case I know of sugar diabetes in our family.
Do you know of the other illnesses or things that run in your family, cancers or any other illnesses?
The only cancer I know of is my dad, and he died from cancer at the age of 65. My next to oldest brother, Stanford, he lives in Atlanta, Georgia now, and he had a heart bypass about 7 years ago, but he's the only one that's ever had any heart trouble in our family.
Just the last few questions. Growing up, how did you learn about slavery, and what kinds of things did you hear about slavery?
Didn't hear too much about slavery when I was growing up. We had a section in our textbook that gave us a few names, and we learned about Abraham Lincoln and his signing the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, and then that the Civil War was over in 1865, and more or less that was our studies on Black history, or anything of Black history. It was about that, just that little bit there.
How was it discussed within the family?
To my memory, not much. We was always told, of course, as I said, my mother was a very religious person, and she always told we owe it to our relatives, our descendants, we owe it to them to do the very best we can in school because of their sacrifice that they made so that we could go to school. So she would, other than just telling us that our own people had died because they were denied the right to school and the right to education, and that we ought to take that seriously and do the very best we could in school, simply because it didn't come cheap.
How about the Underground Railroad? Did you hear about that growing up, or how did you come to learn about that?
Yeah, just as I said, growing up, very little about the Underground Railroad. Really didn't understand it all until probably I was out of high school. As I said, I went to Central State University, a black college, and that's where I really began to get educated about the things that our people went through. The Underground Railroad, as far as helping them get from the south into the north into Canada. My wife is a very active in that study of Underground Railroad, slavery, and all that. Yeah.
Now, can you talk a little bit about your experience going to Central State?
Going to Central State was a shock because for the first 12 years of my life, we were always in the minority. I didn't even know that there were black professors and doctors of English or history, not until I went to Central State. Then when I went to Central State, it was a predominantly black school. In fact, there was only about 30 white students in the whole school, and none of those stayed on campus. They were all commutes from Dayton or Xenia or the towns around there. So it was a shock for me to sit in the classroom and hear this psychology teacher, doctor, teaching, and I was amazed. I just didn't know that we had folk like those. So it opened my eyes up. I loved Central State because of that.
And what years did you attend Central State?
I got a football scholarship to Central State in 1963 when I graduated. Attended the 63-64 season, went back for practice, summer practice, and was injured. And because I was only there because of football, I couldn't play, so I left. Came home, and as you know, the Vietnam War was going on. Well, it wasn't declared a war then. A draft was still in. My brother Bob, next to me, the one who was supporting the family, I was told by the draft board that one of us had to go in the Army. It was going to be him or me. So I volunteered to go in the Army and spent the 3 years in the Army then.
And what was your experience like in the war or conflict? Did you actually go to Vietnam?
Yes, I spent a year in the Central Highlands. I was attached to the 101st Airborne Division, and then after they moved out, we were attached to the 1st Cav, and that's where I spent the rest, attached to the 1st Cavalry, direct support to them.
And how many years were you in the Army?
I was in the Army 3 years.
Oh, okay. Is there anything that you'd like to add to the interview that I haven't asked you that you think is important for people to know?
You've pretty well, caught everything, but I think one of the biggest mistakes that we as black folk make is that we don't tell our children the story. Now, I know that there's more black education in the schools about what blacks went through, what our people had to suffer. There's more of that. But what I'm talking about is the story that we can tell our children. My 2 children, we made sure that they got what we didn't get when we was coming up, so that when they did get older, in case someone asked them, when did you know about black history, when the things that you've asked me, they wouldn't have to say I had a guy when I got away from home. They could say, my mom and dad taught me. I have my grandchildren with me, and I constantly, me and my wife constantly keep them in the books. In fact, the movie Roots, we made them sit down and watch that whole series in Roots, so that they would know.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor Armstrong. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just going to have you sign a little form saying that you let me interview you
Okay.
for the project.
Yes.